Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video I'm going to take a look at the best Hearthstone decks to climb the ladder all the way to Legend in February 2024. And an important note about this video, Hearthstone currently has its biggest botting problem in history. For example, in the Asia server, in January there were 100,000 bot accounts in Legend. Yeah, that is completely unprecedented. That has never, anything in this scale has never happened before. And this means that even if you look at Legend stats, even if you look at Diamond to Legend stats, yeah, trying to find bot-free stats and real performance data is more difficult than ever in the history of the game. I think I can somehow get that on like archetype basis, but then when I start looking into matchup data, when I start looking into individual deck performance, card performance, then HS Replay just doesn't have the types of filters that I would need to really get to the bottom of things. So it has been more difficult than ever. I think the decks that I have here are the right decks. They are in the right order, but some of the matchup data and individual deck performance data within the deck, it's becoming more and more difficult to evaluate. That said, let's look at the top 10 best decks to climb the Hearthstone ladder in February. And coming in at number 10, we have the Aggro Demon Hunter, the Naga Demon Hunter with Blind Eye Sharpshooter, one of the favorite decks of many pro players. This sort of APM deck that can just kill you out of nowhere with Blind Eye Sharpshooter just blasting everywhere with cheap spells or free spells and other free cards and stuff like that. However, the overall performance of the deck is not that great. I mean, in hands of an average player, it's like a 49% win rate deck or lower. So it's actually getting even difficult to climb the ladder with this, but it is semi-playable in the hands of a good player. But as usual, Hearthstone decks, these high skill cap Hearthstone decks, it goes so that if you're an average player, they're not good at all. If you're a top player, then they're barely playable. So they still don't have a real edge over other decks. And that's also kind of the case with Aggro Demon Hunter, although this is one option that you can use to climb the ladder if you really enjoy that playstyle and want to practice that. At number 9 we have Mining Rogue with Velarok Windblade and all those excavation cards and Scourge Illusionists, and yeah, that's going to be some excavation, some generation, some Velarocking to the dome. And Mining Rogue, it's a playable rogue deck. Another playable rogue deck, by the way, is Mech Rogue. You can still play previous expansion Mech Rogue, and you can potentially climb all the way to Legend with that one too. I'm not fully confident. I couldn't find enough data to really justify saying that, okay, that is going to work, but it looks like it's an option. But Mining Rogue seems to be the slightly stronger rogue archetype. And at number 8 we have Arcane Hunter. Yeah, Arcane Hunter still keeps being playable. It's also one of the decks that is offered to new players, not exactly this list, but a similar list, which is really easy to upgrade into this list. Obviously, as a downside, this list is going to rotate out real soon. Like, when the next expansion comes, then Arcane Hunter is going to go away. But Arcane Hunter's last hurrah has been successful. It is a playable deck, even though it's not exactly a top tier deck, but it's still one of the decks that can climb the ladder. At number 7 we have another deck that is saying goodbye to standard format in style. It's Totem Shaman. Totem Shaman actually got some improvements in the miniset because Shroomscavate. Yep, now you can just jam your Gigan Totem and then you can give it Wind Fury and maybe Bloodlust some things, and yeah. Totem Shaman is actually deadlier than ever right now and doing fairly well on the ladder. Perfectly viable climbing deck. And at number 6 we have Mining Paladin. Paladin is back to where Paladin usually is. Very, very strong on lower ranks, but quite predictable. Works almost the same way. So once you get higher and higher on the ladder, better players are able to exploit some weaknesses in Paladin and have better results against it. But that said, Mining Paladin is definitely Legend capable. You can even succeed with this deck in Legend. That's just how strong it is. Even though it's predictable, even though the opponent knows what's coming, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily able to stop it. So a low rank complete tyrant and competitive, even a little bit higher on the ladder. And at number 5 we have Dragon Druid. After the Druid nerfs, this is what survived. Treant Druid looks dead, so the budget dream is dead. Treant Druid is no longer a capable deck. It can no longer climb the ladder. There's no more super cheap way to reach Legend. But Dragon Druid still maintains Druid as a class, as a viable class. Just overwhelming opponent with all of that Dragon tempo that you can put out. Still a wonderful deck. At number 4 we have Control Warrior. Control Warrior has a long list of good matchups. Control Warrior is very well positioned in the meta in that sense when you look at just, okay, what meta decks does it counter? However, its downside is that it's weak against Plague Death Knight, and it doesn't have the best matchup against Sludge Warlock either. So some of those decks that are the most popular decks can still hold their own against Control Warrior, which means that Control Warrior is a great deck, but it's not a tyrant. There are two styles of Control Warrior being played right now. There is this list, this 30 card list, and there's also a Renatal list, which seems to be almost as competitive, although this 30 card list seems to be slightly stronger. And at number 3, the dream has come true. Yeah, it's Rainbow Death Knight. I'm actually recommending people to play Rainbow Death Knight. I actually played Rainbow Death Knight myself the other day. I didn't play this exact list. I hadn't yet looked into statistics to determine which list exactly is the best one. The one that I played was a little bit weaker. I still had a great time with that. Yeah, you're just generating and spending corpses. You're making huge taunt minions very early with Corpse Pride. Sometimes you're able to actually get to Climactic Necrotic Explosion, I guess. I wasn't, but I had it in my hand and I was waiting that it was going to be lethal just when I get to blast with it, but opponents tended to die a little bit earlier. You have some excellent hard removal with Cyclic Grimewalker and Crop Rotation, so 4 poisonous rushing undead. Just wonderful things. Acolyte of Death even seeing play together with Crop Rotation, so you can draw a bunch of cards. And yeah, I did not think this would actually work, but now that I have also tried it myself, I have to say that yes, it does work. And it's a great deck. It's just great. Even so, it doesn't look like it's the strongest Death Knight archetype, because the strongest Death Knight archetype is Plague Death Knight, and specifically this Plague Death Knight list. It's a little bit hard to look at statistics for Plague Death Knights because there are 2 quite different lists around. One is the traditional one with all the Excavate cards, the Excavate package, and then this one. This one is fairly new. It's not many days old yet, but statistics, there's enough statistics, a couple thousand games at least, so yeah, there's enough statistics already to see what the performance is really like, and this looks really, really good. And what's fun about this is that there's Plagues, there's Astalor, and there's sort of a second Astalor because this one goes back to using Sire Denatrius. Yes, you can infuse Sire Denatrius because, again, you have stuff like Crop Rotation, Cyclic Grimewalker, so you have hard removal combined with stuff dying, so Sire Denatrius gets infused. And then your Sire Denatrius is going to also come in and blast a little bit, so really fun take. I didn't expect that Plague Death Knight would see evolution during its time, but it did. And this is currently the strongest Plague Death Knight version, ahead of the Excavation package, and the second best deck in the entire game. The only better deck is the Meta Tyrant, which is Sludge Warlock. Sludge Warlock was already really strong before the latest nerf patch, and it escaped all the nerfs. It was like the nerfs were made based on day 1 data, because when I looked at the data day 1 after the patch came out, I didn't see Sludge Warlock yet. It wasn't common at all. I mean, I saw a couple of lists, okay, there's like 200 games played with that kind of deck, looks a little bit promising. We'll see whether something comes out of that or not. But the real dominance started just a few days after. The explosive power of this deck, when you have those sludges in your deck, and then you just blast them with Waste Remover, and then you have Forge of Wills into Waste Remover, and then you get the 7/7 with Rush alongside, and yeah, this deck is explosive, and it's really hard to shut down. And then even if you manage to stabilize and clear its board, then all the barrels of sludge from the deck can still suddenly kill you out of nowhere, so, with Chaos Creation. So yeah, it's just a very, very strong deck with very few weaknesses, and that makes it the best deck in the format at the moment. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.